An unimaginable bastard.
Hey, yikes! This is shocking. A new low for Prince Harry as he defunds Sentebale.
And I didn't know if it was actually more possible for him to shame the memory of his mother, Princess Diana. What does that tell you about this human being? Do you see what I mean? It's like, This is such a bigger story about what Harry has become, about how vengeful he has become.
Meghan Markle is once again at the center of a royal controversy, though this time the story isn't about a red carpet appearance or a Hollywood friendship gone wrong. Prince Harry has made a financial decision that has people asking whether it was really about charity or about revenge. After years of attaching his name, his mother's legacy, and his public image to the charity, Harry has redirected money away from the organization he helped create, and critics argue that decision punishes vulnerable people because of his personal dispute with the charity's chair, Dr. Sophie Shandok.
Shames this man. Shames this man. Proves this man does not give a damn about the people who he claims to be his life's work.
The timing has made the move especially explosive. Harry's relationship with the charity has collapsed. His relationship with Dr. Shandok has collapsed. The organization is now suing him. Meghan's name has been pulled into the fallout, and the funding stream has been redirected elsewhere. The question critics are raising is whether this represents a simple shift in charitable priorities, or a symbolic final gesture after one of the most bitter fallouts of Harry's post-royal life. The charity operates in one of the poorest regions of the world, supporting children and young people affected by HIV, AIDS, poverty, and inequality. And because the sum of money involved is small, the story becomes less about finances and more about symbolism, where Harry wants his name attached and where he no longer does.
And you are saying to those people, Harry, because of your personal row with Dr. Sophie Shandok, because your wife treated her like a piece of crap, you are saying to those people they're not deserving of Princess Diana's money? I'm sorry. You might not want to hear this, but you need to hear this. Diana would be ashamed of this decision, and no amount of PR spin will convince me.
For months, the breakdown between Harry, Meghan, and Dr. Shandok looked less like an ordinary professional disagreement and more like an open conflict. Dr. Shandok didn't quietly step aside. She spoke publicly and made serious allegations, which Harry has denied. The relationship deteriorated in public view, and the organization Harry once helped build ultimately sued him for defamation, alleging he was involved in coordinating negative media coverage that damaged the charity's reputation and disrupted its work. The dispute became public enough that the Charity Commission, which investigated the fallout, criticized Harry for allowing the conflict to play out so visibly.
This decision by Harry to defund Sentebale is completely outrageous because Sentebale is headquartered in one of the poorest parts of the world, Lesotho, in Africa. And the work of this amazing charity supports children and young people, particularly those affected by HIV, AIDS, poverty, and social inequality.
Harry has denied the allegations, but the sequence is striking. He went from co-founder of the organization to its legal opponent. One of the most persistent claims in the feud is that tensions with Dr. Shandok intensified once Meghan became involved, and a widely replayed public moment, in which critics accused Meghan of snubbing Dr. Shandok, has been treated as evidence that something in the relationship had gone wrong. Whether that single moment caused the rift is impossible to prove, but what followed is clear. The relationship didn't recover, and it got worse. Since 2020, Harry's share of proceeds connected to the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fund had been directed to the charity, including more than £16,000 paid in 2024. In 2025, that same share, just over £5,000, went instead to Elephants Without Borders, a Botswana-based conservation group with long-standing ties to Harry and Meghan. Elephants Without Borders is a legitimate and respected organization, and there's nothing inherently wrong with Harry choosing to support wildlife conservation. But critics argue the real issue is timing. Why redirect the funds now, immediately after the implosion with the charity, the fight with Dr. Shandok, and the start of litigation? The amount of money involved, a few £1,000s, isn't enough to explain the decision as a major financial or strategic shift. If anything, the small sum makes the gesture look more symbolic, a signal that the relationship is over, rather than a meaningful reallocation of resources. That's why the word revenge has attached itself to this story. Whether Harry was trying to make a point to the charity's board, punish Dr. Shandok, or had genuinely reconsidered his charitable priorities is unknown. His private motive can't be confirmed, but the public optics are difficult for him regardless of intent. The charity wasn't a minor cause Harry visited once for a photo opportunity. He helped build it, spent years publicly associated with it, and it became part of the compassionate, down-to-earth image he projected to the world. Now that relationship has ended in open hostility, and that shift, more than the specific sum of money, is being treated as the real story. Another relationship connected to Harry and Meghan has collapsed into public conflict, reinforcing a pattern critics say keeps repeating. There's no evidence Meghan personally ordered the funding change, and it would be unfair to claim there is. But the feud didn't happen in isolation. Meghan's public interactions with Dr. Shandok became part of the narrative, and critics argue that tensions with Dr. Shandok intensified once conflict involving Meghan grew. That leaves an uncomfortable question hanging over the situation, whether this is, once again, a professional dispute that became personal because Meghan was involved. Regardless of intent, Harry finds himself in a difficult position. Continuing to fund an organization suing him would look awkward, while withdrawing support looks like retaliation. Either way, the relationship is broken enough that even routine financial decisions become controversial. This also raises broader questions about Harry's public image, which has long rested heavily on compassion, service, mental health advocacy, and support for vulnerable communities, the part of his reputation that had largely stayed separate from the royal feuds and lawsuits. Critics argue that even that space is now generating the same kind of contentious headlines as the rest of the Sussex story, undermining an image built over years around care for others. There's also a practical argument that Harry could have avoided the controversy altogether. He could have stepped back from the leadership dispute while still allowing the existing funding arrangement to continue, or made a separate personal donation to wildlife conservation without redirecting funds away from the original charity. Because the amounts involved are small, critics say there was no financial necessity forcing an either-or choice, which makes the timing of the switch, right as the relationship collapsed, look more like a statement than a budgeting decision. Observers have also noted a pattern in how Harry and Meghan's public exits tend to play out. Leaving royal life to escape scrutiny led to global attention on the family rift. Seeking privacy generated new headlines through interviews. Building an independent brand kept them tied to the family they'd left. And attempts to manage the narrative have often generated more coverage rather than less. The redirection of charity funds fits into that same pattern, reigniting scrutiny of the original relationship rather than quietly closing the chapter. Adding to the optics, Elephants Without Borders already carries personal significance for the Sussexes. 2 elephants tracked by the organization were previously named after their children, Archie and Lilibet, with the children reportedly involved in choosing tracking collar colors for the animals. There's nothing wrong with supporting elephant conservation, but critics argue the contrast is striking. On one side is the charity now suing Harry, and on the other is an organization tied to warm, personal family imagery, making the shift look less like routine philanthropy and more like a deliberate reset of which parts of the story Harry wants associated with his name. The charity was founded by Harry in 2006, and for years it was one of the few areas where even skeptical observers gave him credit, regardless of their views on other aspects of his post-royal life. Now that legacy is being overshadowed by the current dispute, at a moment when other ventures, including a lapsed Netflix deal, a poorly received documentary, and reportedly shrinking speaking fees, have already been difficult for the couple. Their charitable work was seen as one of the more stable parts of their public brand, and this conflict complicates that as well, particularly since charities depend on donors, sponsors, and stable leadership who believe in a mission larger than the personalities attached to it. The legal dispute between Harry and the charity remains unresolved. The organization has accused him of involvement in a negative media campaign that it says caused operational disruption and reputational harm. Harry has rejected the allegations and called them offensive and damaging. Because the case is ongoing, further details about the internal breakdown could still emerge, meaning the story may not be finished, and the decision to redirect the funding has, if anything, drawn renewed attention to the underlying dispute rather than closing it. Ultimately, the core question isn't really about a few £1,000s moving from one charity to another. It's about why so many of Harry and Meghan's professional and personal relationships have ended in public conflict, lawsuits, or accusations. Whether the funding change reflects a genuine shift in charitable priorities or a symbolic final word in a bitter dispute, it has reopened scrutiny of the relationship's collapse, Meghan's role in the surrounding tension, and the ongoing litigation, ensuring that, rather than quietly fading, the story is once again being discussed in full.